Long walk, teeny talks. Long walk, teeny talks. Long walk, teeny talks. Long walk, teeny talks. Yeah!
Welcome back to Long Walk Teeny Talks. My name is David Hensley. I'm the owner and creative director of Long Walk Productions, and I am joined today by my beautiful co-host, Katie Bearden.
Hi, everybody.
And you know what Katie reminded me just before we started rolling on this one? We just sort of rolled this new show out without ever explaining to our listeners what exactly it was. We just sort of Christopher Nolan'd you and expected you to get on board.
We didn't even do that. We didn't give them any explanation whatsoever. At least he's like, here's 5 minutes of people asking questions in the plot. Now you have all the knowledge.
Yeah.
Away you go.
Strap in.
Yeah.
No, we just sort of were like, hey, we want to do this husband and wife mini-sode podcast. And we started doing it and expected you all to listen to it and enjoy it. But that's the idea, is just the two of us discussing various topics in mini-sode formats as an offshoot of our main flagship shows. So we hope you've been enjoying it.
Yeah.
The feedback has been positive. Yeah. So
thank goodness. If we got any negative, like, what are you comments, I would be pretty sad.
Oh, don't be sad. So Katie, what are we talking about on today's Teeny Talk?
Well, on today's Teeny Talk, thanks for that key up. It's, you know, we try to keep a potpourri of topics swirling around in our heads. So hopefully all of our demographics are reached. I'm not even sure what our demographics are, but I guess we'll find out soon. But I wanted to talk about the resurrection of Dungeons and Dragons. I didn't grow up playing it as a kid, neither did Patrick. We grew up in a pretty conservative household, so games like that were probably a little bit taboo because of satanic panic, but I wasn't aware of any of that. So I just find it interesting that, within the past 10 years, how popular it has become again.
Yeah, I did not grow up playing it either. In fact, I grew up in an era where people who played Dungeons and Dragons or Magic the Gathering were like the nerdiest of the nerdy. And that's why it's amazing to me how much nerd culture has evolved in like the last 10 or 15 years. This is the reason you can't have characters like Peter Parker be a straight up nerd anymore. Like in the comics, Peter Parker was a science geek and looked down upon by all of his other classmates. Made fun of. Nowadays, it's cool to be a science geek. It's cool to be smart. And it's cool to play Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering. It's just fascinating how that culture has evolved. And I think we really have the resurgence of D&D. We have Stranger Things to thank for that.
Yeah, I think that's one factor for sure. That's really culturally in pop culture is where I got reintroduced by it. I also heard I made that statement in a mixed group of friends that also fervently play, and their take on it was that there was a new edition of the Dungeons and Dragons handbook that came out before Stranger Things. So a lot of people were super jazzed to play the new handbook. And then Stranger Things kind of rode those coattails. And I'm sure that was always a plot point for them to, create this story out of the Demogorgon and their D&D campaign. But like a lot of people who were already in that atmosphere of D&D kind of knew those mumbles of the new edition coming out, and that's kind of what took it on into the next generation, I should say. Yeah.
It's at this point the game is, I think at least 40 years old. Maybe it started in the 70s, so almost 50, and I think maybe it started earlier than that. So obviously it never went anywhere. Its popularity endured in different subsects of culture. It's just been within the last 5 years that we've really seen it explode. I remember 2016, Stranger Things season 1 dropped, and all of a sudden everyone was talking about D&D again, and David Two Dogs Hayes, host of this is a work, was telling us about how he used to play as a kid. His parents hated it and thought it was satanic, but he and his friends loved it. And so I wanted to get him a player's handbook for Christmas that year. And I went to different bookstores looking for it and could not find it. You couldn't find dice. You couldn't find the player's handbook. You couldn't find any of this shit. And just a year later, like now, every time I go to Books A Million or Barnes and Noble, they have a D&D section. You can buy multiple kinds of dice of different sizes, colors. You can get the player's handbooks, the Dungeon Master's Guide, all of the side quest campaign books, and all of this stuff. It's just exploded.
I think also, and just from my own personal experience, I am a very level 1, Bobo newbie when it comes to D&D, just because I didn't grow up playing it, and even as in its resurgence, I still haven't done as deep of a dive as some of our friend circle has. And to me, it's also gained popularity by the podcast Critical Role. A lot of people really enjoy that podcast, and I shouldn't say that's all it is, because it's a bunch of actors really throwing themselves into their characters, and it's fun to listen to. But I think that was also, we're riding the crest of podcasting, and people who were already playing D&D got to kind of create this mind picture of this really popular group playing D&D as an audio medium. And I think that also supported a lot of the resurgence as well.
Yeah, and 2020 was definitely a contributing factor to that, because we couldn't get together in groups and play anymore, but we had Skype and we had Zoom, and we had Stan from Long Walk Talks. He plays with people over Discord.
And what is Discord for those like me who don't know what that is?
I don't exactly know what it is either. I keep seeing it thrown around.
Okay, comment on the podcast if you know what Discord is, and tell us what it is, please.
Yeah, somebody reach out and explain it to me. I'm rapidly becoming that person who is technology is passing them by, and it makes me really sad.
What?
Yeah.
Bon Jovi isn't here, Papa. We're on a mountain.
So you've played twice.
I have played, let's see, I've played 3 times, I think, maybe 4.
Mm-hmm.
No, just 3 times, I think. And I prefer and I appreciate the one-shot campaigns.
Yeah.
I really enjoy those. It's quick. It's to the point. We've achieved our goals. Like, I've only played one lengthy campaign, or like a full campaign. I don't even know what to call it at this point. Comment below and tell me what I'm doing wrong. But it's, to me, campaigns are not for the slow attention span, quick, like no attention span, like people like me. So
you really have to get on board and be there for the long haul.
Yeah. So that, to me, I love a good one shot. I think they're fun. And I'm always down for that. And you actually play in a campaign with people. Tell people about your character.
So yeah, I'm part of basically what I'd call like a free flow at this point campaign, in which our DM, shout out to the wonderful Chelsea Hunter, has just continued adding on. Like, from what she described to me, it started out with her and 3 of her friends, and they did what was essentially a one shot, and wanted to keep that going, keep the group going week to week. So she invited me to join, and now, aside from some conflicts, it's pretty much every Monday night we get together. And now I am playing Mordos, the asshole tiefling warlock. The last character that I played, I really loved. Davlamir, the Aarakocra, who was a 5-foot-tall equal person.
Yeah.
And was a paladin, cool. And very lawful good, stiff upper lip, carry a big sword, always do the right thing. And that while that was fun to play, I wanted to go completely opposite of that this time. So now I'm playing a tiefling who look like humanoid demons. I have orange skin and horns and a tail. And when we had played the first time we ever did this, our introduction was playing with 2 dogs. And I just made a very basic character. I didn't know what I was doing, so it was very combat oriented. And I decided I didn't really want to be a weapons person this time either. I wanted to be a spell person. So now I have spells like energy blast and acid spray, and I've got this great counterattack. If I get hit, I can use hellish rebuke. Whoever hits me, I can set them on fire.
Oh,
yeah, it's great.
If only those translated into reality at some point.
If I had any of these powers, I would be in so much trouble all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fun to create somebody completely new too. Like have you died in a campaign yet? I've never died.
I have been knocked out twice.
Okay.
Once as Davalmir the Aarakocra, and then just this past week as Mordos. And I got extraordinarily lucky both times, because whenever you get knocked out, you have 3 chances to do saving rolls. Mm-hmm. So you keep rolling until you get 3 saves or 3 fails, whichever you hit first. So you could roll up to 6 times. This last time we played, I got knocked out in 2 hits, because as a warlock and a tiefling, I'm not wearing armor.
Are you naked?
No, not exactly. I'm just wearing a long coat and clothes.
Oh. You need to buy some armor. How many gold pieces do you have?
None, because I actually just spent them. I spent everything I had in the last camp. This last
on the spells.
No, on an ongoing sub-quest that Chelsea and I have worked out for my character.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
That her and I are being... It's funny because we're being very secretive about it, because it's secretive to my character. So we kind of have to work around the other 3 people in our campaign, and I have to be like careful about what I say. That's one of the nerdiest things I've ever said. But yeah, so my health points only total 18. So the first time I got hit by this creature, it was 8 points of damage. And then the second time it was 14.
Oh no.
And Chelsea asked me like, how you doing? And I was like, I'm out. I'm dead.
Oh.
And so I got very lucky my first saving roll.
She said, how you doing? You're like, I'm deceased currently. Help me.
So my first saving roll was a nat 20.
Oh,
which counted for 2. So then I just had to make one more after that, and I got a 16 and
good.
Came back to life.
I do know enough about D&D to know what nat 20 and perception and a couple of the rolls are.
Yeah.
But I get really confused. I'm like, which die do I use? And
yeah,
I don't know. Why isn't I wanted to buy you, sorry to interject, but I thought about this because, and I still might get you one, but I wanted to get you a little jail cell.
Oh.
I found it on Etsy, and apparently it's where you put your naughty dice.
Nice. Yeah.
It's cute.
I love that.
I was like, I don't know what this means, but it's cute.
Yeah, at this point, I have 2 full sets of dice, and then we were at
do.
Ayo. We were at a little toy store in Brevard, and they had just loose dice. Excuse me. So I just bought a whole bunch of random ones, which is how I ended up with 5 D20s. Oh. So if one isn't rolling well for me, I'll just, next time it's time to roll, I'll pick up another one and try that. And in fact, that's how I ended up with this nat 20. This dice was just working for me that night, and I kept rolling well with it.
Isn't that interesting how there's like almost, I don't want to say a superstition, but it's almost like the luck of the draw or whatever fate, whatever you chalk it up to, that this isn't working, but this other set is. It's so interesting. I
have my little ritual. Before we start, I take out all of my dice and I line them up like smallest to biggest. So ending with the D4s that look like they're just pyramids going all the way up to the D20. And I actually have an app on my phone now with all of my spells on it. But I also, when I started this campaign, went to D&D Beyond and printed off all of my spells so that I know I put them with my character sheet. So I know as we're playing, I can just flip to, what does this one use? Okay, this one uses 2d6.
Yeah. See, that's another thing that, innovation has warped. We talk about, hey, it's cool to be nerdy now. Well, all those nerds are developing apps and web pages for you to be a better player and to really understand the game too. So that's another thing that's kind of evolved with the resurgence of D&D, which is fascinating to me. And I think there's even an app where you can roll dice too. Like, you can just press the screen, I think. Yeah,
you can do that through D&D Beyond. That's we're past the days of pen and paper or sitting down and writing out our stats and everything.
Yeah, let's save some trees.
Yeah, both Davlamir and Mordos I designed entirely through the website D&D Beyond, who has a app now that I'm on currently.
Yeah, hashtag not sponsored.
Hashtag not sponsored,
whoop,
but
whoop.
Probably should be. I wouldn't mind the sponsorship. I'm a big fucking nerd. I'm trying to see if they've got the dice rolling feature on the app. I'm sure they do on here somewhere, but oh yeah, here it is. So you just press on a little icon. You pick which dice you want to roll.
Oh wow.
D4, D6,
cool.
8.
He's showing me the screen on his phone.
Yeah, I know. It doesn't make for good pod, but you press the dice.
Audio medium. Wow.
It rolls.
Oh, that's so cute. It's like a 3D die.
It is. And I rolled a 2.
Oh, well,
I died.
You fell out of the tree and hit your head on the branch on the way down. Yeah. So I'd be curious to find out if any of our listeners play. Whenever we upload the episode, like I'd like to hear what your characters are and what you look like, and if there's a piece of art or any renderings that look like your character. I want to see those. I think the art that comes out of D&D is really cool.
It is. And when we first started playing with our other friend Amy Cheek, when she DM'd that one shot we did, the campaign that I created Davlamir the Aarakocra for.
The character, you mean? Not the campaign.
Yeah. That I created this character for. I went to this website called Hero Forge. Again, shout out, not sponsored, but I wouldn't mind it. You can get on there and design your character. You start with just a base and you customize everything. You can, if you're an Aarakocra, you can give the model an eagle head and wings. And
that's very cool.
So I actually ordered that from them and got it, and I painted it early on into quarantine when we were all looking for things to do. But you can, you don't have to order it directly from them. You can pay, I think it was $8 to download your 3D design. So when I started this campaign, I went on to Hero Forge. I created Mordos in their designer, and then I just downloaded the file and sent it to a friend of ours who has a 3D printer. So now I just have to pick it up from them one of these days.
That's so cool. Yeah. I think that might happen for you this coming week.
Yes.
Actually. Yeah. So my character from our last one shot, it's been forever, and I can't remember everything that they do, but it was a harpy hybrid character, which had a very specific name that I think starts with an A. I'm sure people are screaming into their car stereos or wherever they're listening, like, it's that thing. But her name is Safari, and she was a bard. And she had these big, beautiful wings. And the way I discovered that was who I wanted to play with, or, kind of metamorphosize into our character sheet into this one shot, was because I had found, like on DeviantArt or wherever, this gorgeous harpy drawing that somebody had made, and she was playing a lyre, or not a lyre, a lute, and that's kind of where I started. And she was dressed similar to like a pirate with like striped stockings and this beautiful leather like corset. So that's kind of where I got my inspiration from. I kind of have to see something that's already been created by another person to be like, oh yeah, I want to do that. So maybe I was a bit of a copycat, but I can't, there's just so much to pull from. It's really oversaturated sometimes, and it's a little overwhelming for me to just kind of pick one thing to go with. But that's been my experience with D&D, and I've had a lot of fun. I would just prefer to only do the one shots and go home and sleep in my bed at night. I'm not like the kids in the basement that played for 10 hours a day.
Right.
Although our first campaign was really fun because we were quote unquote snowed in, and we didn't have anywhere, didn't need to be anywhere. So I think D&D has probably sold even better this past year because everybody has the technology to play with one another over Zoom or what have you. So
nice.
Yeah, it's fun.
We should sit down at some point and use D&D Beyond and like make your character.
Yeah.
Like go through all the races and classes and everything.
I still have my character sheet from the last time we played. I don't want to throw it away because I don't want to forget like everything that I gave her. Especially the picture. I want to keep the picture for sure. So
awesome. Okay. Well, Katie, if people want to find you online, where can they do that at?
You can follow me on Instagram at KTB Won't Stop Believin'.
All right. And if you want to follow me online, you can do that on Instagram at DB Hensley. If you enjoy this show, you can find some of our older episodes on our YouTube channel, which is linked in the show notes. You can also find a link in the show notes to more of our broader content, including some of our original creations. If you want to find out more about Long Walk Productions, you can do that by visiting us online at longwalk.us. And to keep up with us online, you can go to Facebook and search for facebook.com/longwalkpro to find the Long Walk Productions page, or you can search for Long Walk Podcast to keep up with us there. And if you enjoy the show, please make sure to leave us a rating and a review on whatever platform you are listening on. So thank you very much for listening.
Stay teeny.